It started like any other hospital morning. Quiet corridors, soft footsteps, machines beeping in the distance. Nothing unusual, nothing dramatic, just another patient waking up after a routine surgery. But within minutes, everyone in the room realized something was terribly wrong. Because when the man opened his eyes and tried to speak, the words that came out weren't English. They weren't French. They weren't Spanish. They weren't anything anyone had ever heard before, not even close. And that was just the beginning. His name was Daniel Harper, 37 years old, healthy, normal life, no strange history, no mental illness, no neurological problems, just a regular guy who worked in construction and loved fishing on weekends. The kind of person you would never expect to end up in a medical mystery. He had gone to the hospital for something simple, a minor procedure, a small surgery on his shoulder after a work injury. Doctors told him it would take less than 2 hours, in and out, nothing risky, nothing complicated. He joked with the nurse before anesthesia, said he'd probably ask for pizza when he woke up. Everyone laughed. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. 2 hours later, the surgery went perfectly. No complications, vitals stable, textbook procedure. They wheeled him into recovery, hooked him up to monitors, and waited for him to wake, which he did, slowly, blinking, breathing heavy. Disoriented, like anyone after anesthesia. The nurse leaned closer. "Daniel, can you hear me?" His eyes focused. He nodded. Good sign. Then she asked the usual question. "What's your name?" Daniel opened his mouth and spoke, but the sound that came out made her freeze. It wasn't English, not even broken English. It was something else entirely. Something harsh, rhythmic, full of strange consonants and unfamiliar sounds. Almost like chanting, but also structured, like real language, not random noise, not mumbling. It sounded intentional, like he was answering correctly, just in a language nobody recognized. She tried again. "Daniel, what's your name?" He replied immediately, fluent, confident, long sentence, completely incomprehensible. The nurse thought maybe he was confused, still groggy, so she smiled. "Okay, try again, English." He frowned, then repeated the same strange speech, faster this time, frustrated, as if he didn't understand why she couldn't understand him. That's when the nurse called the doctor. Within minutes, 3 staff members were in the room, all listening, all confused. Daniel kept talking, pointing, gesturing, trying desperately to communicate, but every word was foreign, not a single recognizable sound, not even yes or no. It was like English had been erased from his brain, like someone flipped a switch overnight and replaced it with something else, something unknown. They tried simple commands. Raise your hand. He didn't react. They demonstrated. He copied. So he understood. He just couldn't process English anymore. It was as if the language itself had vanished. But here's the strange part. He wasn't confused. He wasn't delirious. He wasn't panicking. He acted completely normal, aware, calm, just speaking another language. Perfectly, fluently, like he had spoken it his entire life. The hospital brought in a translator. Spanish first, nothing. Then French, nothing. German, Arabic, Mandarin, Russian, nothing. Each translator listened carefully, shook their head. "I've never heard anything like this." Some said it sounded vaguely Eastern European. Others said maybe Asian. Others thought it resembled ancient dialects, but nobody could identify it, not even close. It didn't match anything. That's when things got serious. Because this wasn't confusion, this wasn't memory loss, this wasn't random sounds. This was structured speech, grammar, rhythm, consistent vocabulary. He repeated the same words for the same objects, like water, like bed, like pain, which means his brain had created or accessed a real language system. But from where? Doctors ordered brain scans immediately, MRI, CT scan, blood tests, everything. They suspected a stroke, maybe a small clot affecting the speech center, but the scans came back clean, perfect, no damage, no swelling, no trauma. His brain looked completely normal. Too normal. Meanwhile, Daniel was getting more frustrated. He kept talking, trying to explain something, pointing at the door, at the window, at the IV tube, like he wanted answers, but nobody understood him. Imagine that, waking up in a world where nobody speaks your language, where every sentence you say is meaningless noise to everyone else. Terrifying, isolating, almost cruel. So they tried another test. They handed him a notebook. "Write," they said. He looked relieved, grabbed the pen, and started writing, fast, confident, line after line, symbols, curves, shapes, characters no one recognized. Not Latin, not Cyrillic, not Chinese, not Arabic, not anything. It looked like writing, organized, repeated patterns, but completely unknown, like a script that shouldn't exist. That's when the hospital contacted linguists, real experts, university professors, language specialists. They recorded his speech, sent audio files, sent photos of the writing, and waited. If anyone could identify it, it would be them. Days passed. Then the responses came back, and they all said the same thing. "We have no match. No known language, no dialect, no historical record, nothing even similar. It didn't belong anywhere." It was like Daniel was speaking something that had never existed. And that's when the theories started. Theory number 1, brain trauma. Maybe anesthesia triggered something rare, a neurological glitch. But doctors had never seen anything like this before. Language doesn't just appear from nowhere. You can lose speech, you can slur words, you can forget vocabulary, but you don't suddenly gain a brand new language overnight. That's not how the brain works. Theory number 2, forgotten childhood memory. Maybe he learned another language as a child and forgot. Then trauma brought it back, but his family confirmed. He only spoke English his entire life. No travel, no foreign relatives, nothing. Just small-town America. So that didn't fit either. Then came a stranger explanation, something psychologists call foreign language syndrome. It's extremely rare, but documented. After brain injury, some people wake up speaking with a different accent, like a British accent or Australian, even if they've never been there. But Daniel's case wasn't an accent. It wasn't altered English. It was a completely different language, which made this case unique. Possibly the only one ever recorded. But here's where it gets really creepy. After about a week, something changed. Daniel started understanding people again. When doctors spoke English, he reacted, followed commands, nodded correctly, which means his comprehension was coming back. But he still couldn't speak it. He tried, and the sounds came out wrong, broken, like a toddler learning words for the first time. Meanwhile, the strange language stayed perfect, fluent, effortless, like it was his native tongue now. And then one night, something even stranger happened. A nurse entered his room. Daniel was asleep, or so she thought, because she heard whispering, soft, low, like two people talking. She stepped closer. Only Daniel was there, still asleep, but his lips were moving, and he was speaking in that same unknown language, talking to someone who wasn't there. She recorded it on her phone. Later, linguists analyzed it. They said something chilling. It sounds like conversation, not random speech. Pauses, responses, questions, like dialogue. But with who? There was no one else in the room. After 2 weeks, his English slowly returned. First single words, then sentences, then normal conversation. And just like that, the mysterious language disappeared completely. He couldn't speak it anymore, couldn't remember it, couldn't even recognize the recordings. It was like it had never happened, like those 2 weeks had been borrowed from another mind. Doctors asked him what he remembered. He said something strange. He said while he couldn't understand people, he felt like everyone else was speaking nonsense, like the whole world had switched languages. Not him, them. Which makes you wonder, what if, from his perspective, he was the only one speaking normally, and we were the ones speaking gibberish? To this day, nobody knows what happened. The case is still studied in medical journals, still debated, still unexplained, because science can explain memory loss. It can explain brain damage. It can explain confusion, but it cannot explain how a fully structured, unknown language can appear inside someone's brain overnight and then vanish without a trace. So, the question remains, where did it come from? Was it hidden somewhere deep in the brain, a language we all carry, but never access? Was it random neural noise that somehow formed structure, or something stranger? Something we don't have words for yet? Because maybe, just maybe, our brains are capable of more than we think. Maybe languages aren't only learned. Maybe sometimes they're waiting, somewhere deep inside, and under the right conditions, they wake up, just like Daniel did. And honestly, that might be the strangest part of all.